we know when he'll be coming back. The question is, when will Lamar Jackson be coming back for OTAs and maybe even minicamp for the Baltimore Ravens? Yeah, he hasn't been showing up. I think the last report we saw was he made one of the 5 they've had thus far, and when you add it all up, within his contract, he's got a $750,000 bonus for showing up for the offseason workouts, a workout bonus. We've talked about this before, how it's kind of standard in certain organizations to put in a workout bonus. In some cases, it's because they want players to stay up there during the offseason, and maybe they're a place that isn't that great to stay during the offseason. That may change anyway, right? Especially those cold weather places. Typically, they're ones that have those workout bonuses as a part of it. If OTAs get pushed all the way, in essence, to June, July, now you're talking about a better time of year to be up there. So maybe that changes a little in how teams want to go about constructing it. I digress. Lamar Jackson, a 2-time MVP, obviously coming off his MVP season last year and a trip to the AFC Championship game, and inking a $260 million deal last year, has decided he doesn't need to come for the $750,000 workout bonus that's within this contract. And he does have this in future years of his contract, which, I mean, you're talking about $750,000 as an earner in America. That puts you in, at minimum, the top 2%. There's a lot of people out there who would love to say, yeah, I would love to show up and be present to at least make the $750,000. And look, as a quarterback, obviously there's a little bit more involved than that. It's more than just showing up. But for the most part, he could take limited reps. As long as you are present, as long as you're there at meetings, as long as you're working out a little bit, they're going to give it to you. Like, they're going to give you that money, that bonus. I've seen other players do this where they do even less than that, but they're present and they've got a workout bonus and they want to make sure that they get that money. Does it surprise you to hear that that's how much his workout bonus is? And he's just willing to say, no, I'm good. I'm going to go ahead and do my own thing for a little bit.
You know, I'm curious as to why you would have it in your contract if you're not planning on getting it. Like that's what strikes me. You know, he doesn't come across to me as someone who's unaware. You know, I could see if he was aloof, didn't get it, didn't understand it. I mean, there's been a lot of kind of conversation in terms of how his representation, you know, what that looks like. But to me, if you've negotiated a contract, and that's a giveaway deal right there. The $750 as a workout bonus, it's a giveaway piece of money, meaning it might as well be guaranteed because you should be able to get that, you know, fairly easily. It's just you being there. I don't understand why negotiate that into your contract if you had no intentions of being there in the off season, because it ultimately leads to a moment such as this where you're not there, and then the conversation ensues that you passed up on working out and being present for meetings and being present at the facility for $750,000. It just doesn't calculate well. It really doesn't. I don't care how much you're making. I don't care how much you've made. If you've negotiated something business-wise that's associated to you and the company that you're employed by, and it has $750,000 bonus in there, why would you not do it? that's what's perplexing to me. I have no problem with Lamar Jackson not being there on the off season if what he's done in years past has been not be there in the off season. But why negotiate that? Why negotiate that?
It's a valid question. I have no idea. Maybe it came from the team side of things and then wanting him to incentivize him to be there. You know, that typically, you know, that comes up in negotiations where it's a standard that they put within their contracts. Hey, all our guys have workout bonuses. Now, I'm throwing that out there. I don't know if that's the case or not, but sometimes that is the case. We talked about Green Bay being one of those places that like to put workout bonuses in their contracts. Maybe because of some of or past or recent years where he hasn't showed up, they wanted to incentivize him or entice him to come back and be there for it? We don't really truly know the answer. We also don't know the answer for his absence. So some of this, could be justified as well as to why he's taking time away. And he's, he's a 2-time MVP. So it's hard to believe that he's not working out or preparing himself in some capacity. He may just be doing it in a way that is more individualized to him. That is the other side of this conversation. But I guess it begs the question, as a former player, do you look at it, LaVar, and say, like, I'd want my quarterback to be there? It doesn't feel right if our quarterback's not there, but I'm there, or everyone else is there, which, to the report, no one else on this offense had missed any, time. Everyone else was present.
I just don't feel like you're ever going to get a perfect answer that way. You know what I mean? Like, is it right? Is it wrong? As a player, do I want my quarterback there? Of course you want your quarterback there. Do you want guys to approach it from the standpoint of we're trying to win games? The more we win, the more success we have, the better it is for all of us that's on this roster. Of course, that's how you would assume the players on the team feel. But with that being said, I don't know what amount of players and what their relevancy level is of the ones that would have a problem with Lamar Jackson not being there. And even if their relevance was significant, how does that play a part in how they're handling it? You got to be very careful in how you handle circumstances and situations with a guy as successful and as a high profile as Lamar Jackson is. You start saying that stuff around the locker room, like, why isn't Lamar here? Next thing you know, the GM is one of the GAs or what, well, not GAs, but, one of the people that are analysts, whatever, scout department, somebody's coming downstairs to grab you up and take you to, somebody's office. You might not even be there. It's that real with the franchise guys. So I don't know that this creates a division, which it possibly could. It most likely does with some, but I don't know how significant that division is that's created by him not being there in the off season. I don't
the first
buy
name that comes
too
to
much.
mind is Derrick Henry, though, right? A new piece to their offense. There are elements of maybe some zone read, quarterback run game that you'd want to get down, or you'd want to have the guy there who's going to be calling the play. I don't know. I mean, again, coming from a former quarterback, if there was an opportunity to be there with your teammates, you're there.
Yeah.
And despite everything that could be going on, contract, etc., because that's just the role that you play. You're the leader. You're the guy that needs to be there. That's what the job
it's your job
requires.
That's the key point. Is this your job? And again, listen, I teach my kids this. Don't come talking to me or talking to people about your $1 million ideas. And they're like, well, what do you mean? So you ever notice that people come up to you, they always say, I got $1 million idea. I got a $1 billion idea. I got a $70 million idea. And I said, don't ever talk to people in those terms. I said, because you have to understand, these $1 billion companies are fighting for pennies. They're fighting to make pennies. So keep that in mind. If a $1 billion company is fighting to find pennies to continue to improve their bottom line, please don't talk to me as somebody who has an idea about $1 million idea until you make it a 1 cent idea. Get 1 cent out of it. Then show you can make 2 cents. And then show me you can make 50 cents. Show me you can make $1. Show me you can make $5. Because then it becomes a $5 idea that's climbing towards being the idea that you thought it was. That, to me, is a principle and a value that I want my children to embrace as they become adults, because you understand the value of what your services represent. You value and understand what it is that you need to do and how you need to approach the value of $1 as it applies to you being in the workforce, and you should never take that lightly, and so to me, I would be curious to understand and know from Lamar Jackson why he sees it fit to miss out on a bonus that is so easy to obtain. So it's so easy to that's pretty much your money because you're doing something that one, you're supposed to, supposedly you love doing it, but then secondly, you're the franchise guy. You are the franchise. Why wouldn't you be there? And like you said, you don't have to do every single thing. It's just you being present. It's you being there in attendance. Why would you not be there? Especially if you didn't want to just be there. They incentivized you with $750,000. I'm not clear on why would you negotiate that in your contract if you had no intentions of doing it, because you're leaving a significant portion of money on the table. For what?
Do you think fans care? I mean, like it's one thing when you hear that they missed time, you're like, okay, whatever. And then you hear, how much? $750,000? Like, there's a lot of people who work their tail off
and
for
won't
a tenth
see
of
that.
that.
Yeah, won't see that.
And you're going,
I think
wait a
they
second,
care.
this guy can just get it as a work. I think they care in retrospect. Like, if things don't go well, then they care. Then it's like the reason why they can't get to a Super Bowl, even though they got a 2-time MVP. The reason why, like, those sorts of things pop up. Like, that's how I feel like diehard fans are. But I do feel like it man, I don't know how to say this without it sound. It's not controversial, but it's like you become less likable. Like, it feels like when people make a lot of money, it automatically puts them in this category of where people are going to be jealous and there's going to be sharper criticism. Mm-hmm. And then when you have opportunities to make easy money like this and you don't, it makes you more of a target. I'll put it like that. Like, I just, like, if no one knew what Tom Brady was making from Fox, which is $37.5 million, by the way, if no one knew that number, do you think they would be as critical if he goes out there and he's not very good the first few times? Like, people tend to, they tend to relate like, hey, this guy's getting paid X. He's got to be like that good. Like, otherwise, like, I could do that. Like, people will say that all the time, even though they have like no ability or no chance of ever being able to come close to doing that, whether it's broadcasting in a booth, even though everyone thinks they can. It's just funny to me. Like, I feel like when there's a number associated with it and people see how much money that is, they typically get a little upset about it because they feel like they could be doing that or they should be doing that or they could be just as good. Do you not think that fans would be a little upset like that?
I think fans pay attention to if a guy comes across as he's gracious, if he's humble, if he's endeared himself to them. But I also think that there are fans that are going to judge just based off of their own personal situations in their own life. Like, what would I do with that amount of money? Imagine I got to go, clean this building, or I got to go get trash, or I got to go teach these kids, or whatever it may be, and I don't make any of that. And so it kind of touches on your point, just the idea of taking advantage of your opportunities. We sometimes as athletes, we don't maybe necessarily think about how much we apply to the city that we're representing, that we're playing for. And maybe it doesn't matter to the players. Some players, it doesn't matter. I don't think that's the case with Lamar Jackson. I think he embraces being a Baltimore Raven. I think the way he is and how he handles things is very relatable, until you get to a moment where it's a situation where it's not relatable. This isn't a relatable situation. And I think that that's where a fan will, even if it's not like a hard feelings type of judgment, you're going to judge them, because I think the sensibility of it is all you have to do is be present and participate to get $750,000. I think that any type of fan would sit there and be perplexed as to why, he wouldn't do it. Why does that make sense in any scenario not to do what it takes to get that bonus? Because weren't you sitting out waiting for a contract last year?
Yeah. That was at least that was the thought behind it.
Right. So you were waiting on a contract. So you're fighting for every dollar while you're sitting out waiting for this contract. If you're sitting out and you're waiting for this contract to come through and the contract comes through, why would you leave that amount of a portion on the table? $750,000. Why would you leave that on the table? It just doesn't seem to add up. And I think that I don't think the fans would like be out on him. I just think that would be something that the fans is like, it's a debate in the barber shop. It's a conversation for somebody, for fans that may say, one thing or another in terms of, I don't know, as fans. But I think they're okay with him. I don't think that they're out on him, but certainly would have conversation about it.